I'm turning the recorder on. This is Tuesday, January 16th, 2024. It's 4:00 p.m. This is the Bluff Town Council meeting. Roll call.
Linda Sosa.
Luanne Hook.
Britt Hornsby.
Jennifer Davila.
Ann Leppanen.
Erin Nelson serving as town manager.
Then the first item of business is approval of the Bluff Town Council regular meeting minutes of January 9th, 2024. Has everybody received them, read them, and are there any changes or modifications, points of discussion?
I'll move that we approve them as written.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Then all in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Then it's unanimous. Public comment, there will be a 3-minute time limit for any person wishing to make a public comment. If you exceed the 3-minute time limit without permission, the meeting controller will mute you. Erin, did anybody ask to make a public comment?
No, I did not have any hands raised and there were not any comments in the chat box. And so I will close off that chat box now.
Thank you. Then moving to number 1, excuse me, the report on the design review team meeting today, January 9th, 2024, and a vote to replace a committee member because Jim Sayers is no longer a member of the council and we need to really have 2 council members on that. I'm going to turn to Erin to just give a report on what happened today. I was in Cortez at the dentist and wasn't able to make it.
Yeah, so we had a really brief call. Melanie Daniels and I jumped on at 2. And then Janet joined us at about 2:20 p.m. Janet has been speaking with board members about the project and, just trying to get everyone on the same page in terms of what this is all going to look like going forward. I did suggest that maybe Ann and Janet maybe touch base sometime in the next couple weeks. Our next formal DRC meeting isn't until February 6th. So potentially Ann and Janet could touch base. Janet did want to ensure that they had a pretty clear picture of what the timeline looks like for our 2 grants. So I think it would be beneficial for both the board and the council to see that in one document. So I'm going to work on compiling that just so we can see how all these projects track together. And as a note, that would probably be a great activity for a project manager. So that can be something that either rolls off to them or we can start talking about what a project manager looks like for that particular position. UDB has paid off their loan in full. So that was noted. And then Janet said specifically that she would start working with the board to identify what a budget would look like for the pass-through funding for the EPA grant. So there's there's $200,000 that's assigned to UDB, and so she noted that that's something that they're going to start working on to ensure that all parties are aware of what that would look like, since we will have to administer that portion of the money anyway, and we have to report back up to the EPA. She also talked about potentially having a standing invitation for one of their board members to be able to attend the DRC meetings regularly to ensure, smooth communication. So I said, this particular council will be identifying a council member to attend, and so it would make sense that they would have a representative as well. And pretty quick conversation with Janet, but just that, certainly we'll need additional communication over the next couple weeks as we continue to work on the grants.
Thanks, Erin. Anybody have any questions of Erin? And again, I apologize for having to bow out of that one. So under the acquisition and redevelopment agreement, the requirement for the design review committee is that we have 2 persons from each side, no less than 2 persons from each side. And in the past, UDB has not had a board member and not had regular attendance by the executive director. So this is encouraging that Ms. Chi is getting into the meetings, and I'll reach out to her and get something set up. But in the meantime, with Jim Sayers being off the council, we need to have a second person other than myself in that DRC. So anybody have any thoughts?
Didn't we
I
discuss?
thought I
Jane?
had, yeah, I thought I had volunteered to do that. I'm sorry. I thought the meeting got canceled. I was confused by the email.
No, the email is confusing because I ended up, there were just too many things that had to be done for AmeriCorps that interfered with my getting back on the call between the dental appointment. No, and that's fine, but Luanne had suggested we have a vote, and so that's why it's back on here, so that we have a vote. Most of the time on the committees, people just volunteer, but it's probably a good idea given the importance of this committee and the work that's going to have to be done. So is there a motion for this?
I'll make a motion to appoint Jennifer Davila to the DRC committee, design review committee for the old school.
And I will second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Well, Jen, be careful what you wish for. I'll try to be clearer, but the meetings will be the first 3 Tuesdays at 2:00 that kind of track our meetings. That being said, at the first DRC meeting that you and I will both be at, we'll talk with Janet and whoever's there from UDB about whether that time and date still works, whether they want to change any of their leadership in there. And so I know that the first one will be that date.
Okay.
But after that, we'll just have to figure out if that works for everyone. And we should choose a chair at the same time. I don't want to want UDB to feel like I've just usurped all the power. So,
Yes.
all right, perfect. Then next is a report on Bluff's Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, and that's Luanne.
Yes, so on planning and zoning, they had a work session again on the 11th. It was Thursday morning. They did it in person and finished up a draft of the sign ordinance. So it's intended to be a standalone sign ordinance separate from the planning and zoning document. And they have it to draft position, and Erin has put it on our website. So if you go on our townofbluff.org website and go up to ordinances on that tab, click on that one, it lists them all. But then if you go down to draft ordinances, that one will pop up. There's 2 choices on the draft ones, and click on the sign one and it is there. So they have picked February 1st for the hearing. So that'd be Thursday at 6 p.m. on February 1st, but I have not heard if that is actually confirmed because the timing requirements, I haven't heard confirmation that went through fine with San Juan Record and so on, but that was their goal. And then they meet again on the 7th. So that's all on planning and zoning that I have. You're muted, Ann.
Didn't want to, I think that the first is a go. From what I can tell, it's on the website, and I did see communication from Amanda Podmore with confirming the San Juan Record.
Okay.
So that's a go. Here's where the muddied water comes in. So if the public hearing is the 1st and we don't meet until I think it's the 6th, and they don't have a meeting until the 7th, the sign enforcement moratorium will have passed. And so I think that all of us on the council need to thoroughly read that draft sign ordinance and be able and be set and ready to discuss it meaningfully and move things forward when it gets to us, because it's not a good thing to have a moratorium and then blow past the date. And that's just kind of the bottom line. So I haven't read it yet, so I'll take some time, but all of us should take a look at it and see what hard work they've done and move forward. Anything else on that, Lou?
No, and the moratorium is for enforcement of the signs that are up, and the new sign ordinance. Part of what it says is that the existing ones are grandfathered in, the ones that are permanent and existing. So temporary signs are not grandfathered in, but the permanent ones are. So it would be a matter of somebody coming with a new sign ordinance. That would be where it would, or a new sign request would be a little bit tricky.
Okay, so because we haven't accepted it or voted on it, I'm not going to agree or disagree with how this plays out or what it looks like. It's just one of those things that when we take an action, we should probably try to get everything done before the time expires.
Do we need to extend the moratorium?
Let's just move it and try to, yeah, thank you though. That's a good suggestion, but let's just move it along.
Already.
And then I think you have number 3 also, an update on the active transportation plan.
Yes, and so that is also the one that I suggested we vote on, but we do need a council member to be assigned to our committee. Jim Sayers was also on that one, and Britt had voiced interest, so if he still is, I don't know that we can vote, but we would at least like to get you assigned to it kind of formally, or
Because it's classified as advisory, I think we're just fine without having to vote on it.
Okay. Yep. And I'm still interested. That's totally fine.
Yep, perfect. Well, be careful what you wish for. There you go. Thank you, Britt.
let's see, and it seemed like I had a couple. There's that active transportation plan is on our website also. Erin has been running that. You can find that tab 2 on the, let's see. Shoot, Erin, which one is it?
It's
Committee.
under town boards and committees.
Yes, there you go. Town boards and committees. Just wasn't seeing it. Town boards and committees, and then if you click on that, you'll see the approved plan. Everything was changed into the approved status, except for Erin, if you wouldn't mind, the top line still says something about drafted plan, which I think is also accurate, that it's been drafted, but it's causing a little bit of confusion. So if you could just put approved or final or however you want to do that, but it is there if anybody's interested in seeing it. And then let's see. Yeah, we have a meeting with UDOT with Southeastern Utah section. They're doing some planning and just want some input from our committee. So we're doing that at the end of the month. They're looking at, a bigger picture stretch from Moab to Monument Valley and just want our input. So that's kind of cool. Being a town lets us get our voice in on some bigger regional things.
Any questions or thoughts for Lou?
When was that at the end of the month, Lou?
It's like the 26th, I believe. Yeah, I can let you know so that you can plan on that too.
Awesome. Thank you, Lou.
All right, then number 4, update on the orientation of AmeriCorps team and the work at the Cooperative Cultural Center by the team. So they arrived last Tuesday. There are 8, and they're settled in at the mission. We did an orientation on Wednesday. So in the morning we were at the mission, and Father Jack and Diane Ben and Walter Shorty talked and walked people around. We did introductions, and then we went up to Blanding and had Subway sandwiches. At 1:15, everybody went over, except for me, to the edge of the Cedars, and Jonathan Till did one of his amazing backroom tours for them. And then they had wandered around the museum for a few minutes and came back and settled in. The work, I've never ripped up carpeting, so I had like no idea what we had. And it turns out, according to a YouTube video, there are two types of industrial carpet backing. One is a backing that peels up pretty easily once you want to remove it, and the other is the carpet from hell. And we have the carpet from hell. So today I went over and got a carpet stripper machine that's an industrial one. And they will try again with this carpet stripper, which looks like if you think of a Bissell rug cleaning machine, it's about that size, only about 20 times heavier. Brant went over and put it in his truck. So thank you, Brant Murray. That was really helpful. I couldn't have gotten it in the car. But they'll start on the carpet. Well, they'll continue on the carpeting tomorrow. They have been working on the ceiling, finishing the tear out of the ceiling. When I was there today at 3, it looks like it's pretty close to being done. It'll be done by tomorrow, I'm sure. And they've got those 2x4s or whatever they are. Those will be piled up and salvaged. And they've removed the black boxes in the fluorescent lighting pieces that can't be crushed and recycled. And that's really pretty tedious. So they've been doing that. And then we'll take a look probably on Thursday if the, excuse me, if the carpet machine is working, then we'll look at what other projects need to be done there. Excuse me. One of the problems, something that's occurred is that the team is dealing with some illnesses and some physical illnesses. Stuff is going around. It's winter. So we may be working at less than capacity for a while. There's 8 of them, and right now I think we have 4 or 5 that will be working. But we're making progress. I have sent in, if anybody from Bluff Community Foundation is listening, I apologize for not getting back yesterday or today with someone, but I did send the modification into AmeriCorps asking to add Bluff Community Foundation as a partner for them to be able to help out and do work over there in the old turquoise. And I'm just waiting for that. And I added, once we got some of the stuff out of the utility rooms at the Bluff Community Center, it was kind of ugly. Those rooms really need a paint job. So I added those too, and a wall repair where the chairs go in. They have taken out the back part of the wall. And I think that's about it. The team is great. Everybody should meet them, but hold off until they're all 8 healthy. But I think we're moving along. That they're all just wonderful. Just sorry travel makes you sick sometimes. Any questions or thoughts on that?
Do they have everything they need, to feel comfortable with dealing with sickness while traveling here?
Yes. Today when I was in Cortez, the team leader texted me a long list of cleaning products and things that they need. And last week, after they got there, I took out a cartload of blankets because they wanted more blankets. And my understanding is that Father Jack is relocating a sleeping space and a bathroom space for those folks who are sick and need to be quarantined. So thanks for asking. I think they're good. If somebody is making a big pot of soup and you have extra, we have 1 vegetarian, but I'm sure, down to 4 or 5 of them and working all day, they could sure use a warm meal if anybody feels up to it. And those people who drop dishes off or we took dishes from you, I will get those back to you tomorrow. Anything else? Linda?
I would look, they got here at 8:10 in the evening and had not eaten since lunch. And we had 2 big pots of chili, one from Deborah Westfall, which they loved. We've also gotten some things in the last day or two from business owners of Bluff that were left over from the Bloom Festival. So they are really grateful for all these things.
Yeah, I don't remember the per diem that they get for food, but I know it's under, I believe, $4 a person per day. So they're not eating, expensive, fancy food. So anything that anybody wants to help out with or drop off, they'll be more than appreciative. So it's fun. It's another great team, and we're getting some work done. So I'm just hoping that carpet terror works. Oh, I also had to pretty much mortgage the town to get that because Slavens does not rent across the state line. And so because I don't have a Colorado driver's license, it required some additional maneuvering to do it. I called 9 different places in Utah to try to get this machine and could not get it. And it's a $3,000 machine if we'd had to buy it. So kudos to Slavens for breaking the rules. All right, then number 5, report on the remodel of the Bluff Community Center. Erin, how are we doing on that?
Yeah, so the office bathroom should be 100% operational by tomorrow, which is very exciting. And the shelving for the food pantry area is arriving Friday and should be able to be set up there this weekend, early next week. So we are almost nearing completion. There are probably just a couple other little jobs that we need to ensure that they've met the full contract of what went out to bid. So the door, the main door, ADA accessibility and everything, and then a lot of cleanup work. We have the offices functional now, probably a little bit more organization. We can ensure everything's back to where it needs to be. But yeah, it looks like we should be wrapping up here early next week, is what I've been told.
All right, that would be good. It'd be particularly good to get those shelves in over the next before Monday, in case Ginny Burns needs to go back to Salt Lake and can get start organizing her space. And yeah, there's just some touch-ups, but I think we're good then. And Linda, did you touch base with the senior center today?
Yes, they just, in terms of everything there is finished, except one little metal strip that goes between the kitchen floor and the general floor.
Great. We'll make a note of that then, and then we can wrap that up, and then we need to wrap up the insurance piece as well. I want to have an open house when we get it done. Looks very nice.
I have one question that's maybe a good time to take care of. It probably wasn't on the grant, but I'm just wondering about keys and locks and to the front door and that middle door and a lock box for the other rooms. Like that one that goes from the bathrooms into the offices. Does anybody have a key to that? I'm just wondering if we've got locks figured out.
Yeah, I'm not quite following what you're asking. We're talking about the community center, right?
Right. Yeah, same building.
Okay. And so
so like I have very few keys and I don't know where the lockbox is and stuff now for the other keys, but I know that like the door between the bathrooms and the offices, if you're coming from the community center, I've never been able to get through there. I always have to go outside and go around the other door. So I'm just wondering if that was part of like kind of structuring the community center. It'd be nice if that all had sort of a plan at the same time.
no, locks were never a part of the plan. Never a part of the plan.
Not part of the grant, but maybe we can get that figured out during the same time is what I'm asking.
Right. We can certainly figure it out. I'm sure everybody doesn't remember, but way back when we were moving in there after we acquired the building from the BSA, I asked everybody who wanted what keys, and people were pretty much, I don't want a lot of keys. So we can certainly revisit now that we have, especially it's a good time with Jen and Britt, like who wants a key to what. I think the lockbox right now is in the file room in 4, locked in a cabinet so that it's secure. And that's where all the extra keys are kept. But we can do a work session and add this to the work session. But yeah, it wasn't a part of the grant.
No, I didn't figure as part of the grant, but it might be a good time to, finish that detail.
Yeah, I think there are a number of little things that need to be done in there, like deciding what goes into which utility room, what things get stored in those utility rooms. Right now, we're storing things that belong to private people doing classes, and I think we need to talk about use of space. So we'll get it on a work session, which will make us think about it. Let me just make a note here, Lou.
Alrighty.
All right, number 6, report on the status of signatories to Zion's bank account and the conflict of interest forms. Linda, that's yours.
I have all the, for the council, I have all the conflict of interest forms except one. For planning and zoning, I only have 2 of their forms. So, so we need a few more. So we're almost there. For the signatures on the Zion's bank account, Britt and Jen, were you able to get your signatures finished at Zion's Bank?
Linda, I went up today and all of my stuff is current on file. What Kim, actually bank president, had mentioned to me was that she needs Brett to take his stuff in, and then she will send you the signature card electronically, and apparently we sign in Bluff. They didn't have me sign anything today. They said they're still waiting for Britt's license information, and then they'll send you the information directly, Linda.
And my plan is to do it tomorrow. I've got it all filled out. Is to do it tomorrow when I take Quinn up for gymnastics.
Great.
Perfect. I dropped a letter off that they needed on a letterhead saying that we were taking Brant Murray off and putting Britt and Jen on. So that was dropped off, I think, Thursday, or I don't remember. It was the end of last week. So they should have everything once they get Britt's information. Great. Any questions on that? And go ahead.
So Jen, so just to be clear, are you able to sign checks now?
Not yet. I'm still not on the signature card because they're waiting for Britt's information, and then they'll send it to you.
Okay. Okay, thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Then number 7, report on public health inspection of Fire Mesa Kitchen and the Cooperative Cultural Center Kitchen. So for about 4 months, I've been trying to get an inspector from San Juan Public Health down to inspect both of our kitchens, the Cooperative Cultural Center Kitchen, which is technically a commercial kitchen, and then Fire Mesa Kitchen. So the person who does the inspections has been on long-term medical leave for the county and is going to continue to be on long-term medical. The county contracted with Grand County, and the woman from Grand County was reluctant to come down and do the inspections of both. One, she didn't want to do the inspection of the CCC because we don't have a certificate of occupancy, and Fire Mesa Kitchen, she stated, had never been inspected, and she didn't want to do an initial inspection and a follow-up or whatever. And that is not accurate. That was inspected when it was built and the first year it was used. When we went into COVID, no one really thought about inspections because we weren't using it, but it's been inspected. So fast forward to the new wonderful business in town, the coffee shop. They wanted to open for the Balloon Festival, and they were not making any progress with the inspector getting down here either. So between the coffee shop and myself, and then reaching out to Dr. Sonata. Dr. Sonata was able to get a contract person from Richfield to come down, Zach. And so Zach came down last week. He inspected the coffee shop and he inspected some other business kitchens down in Mexican Hat. He spent a full day here. He ended up inspecting first Fire Mesa kitchen, which passed. It got a full 100 score, no issues with that. So if we want to talk, well, we can continue to do our rentals, but if we want to talk about doing some contract leasing to the new coffee shop, we're in a good position to do it. I just was very reluctant to put anything in writing on a permanency piece until we had that inspected. So we're good to go, and we can meet with the operator owners to get that moving. And then the CCC, when I explained to him we don't have a certificate of occupancy, he asked me what we were going to do with it. And I explained the construction and everything. And we went over and he said he'd look at it. So we went over and he looked at it. He was quite impressed with the equipment. And he said, well, do you want to rent it out? I'm like, no, we're doing construction, but I've got this AmeriCorps team here. I had to bring a microwave in because the kitchen's not supposed to be used. And, it'd be nice for them to be able to heat up food or make a soup or something. So he did an inspection and he signed off on, and I want everybody to not get excited. We can use it, UDB can use it only internally. So we can't have events there. We can't host things. But if we have, say, a joint meeting with UDB, we can use the kitchen. If UDB wants to do a board meeting, they can use the kitchen. For AmeriCorps or those construction teams, we can use the kitchen. We cannot have full-blown meals. We can't rent it out. We can't do anything. That will come with a certificate of occupancy. The only two things that he qualified were that before we start to use it, those plastic strips you see in refrigerator places where you walk through to keep out dust, or I didn't know that's what they did, but he wants those strips at both doors going into the gym from the hallway to keep out dust. And then a very thorough cleaning of the kitchen because it hasn't been thoroughly cleaned in several years. It's mostly dusty. So once we do that, then we're good to, let people have their lunches and heat up food and do things in there. I had to take my spare microwave in there because there is no microwave for the kitchen. And I'm just going to maybe price another microwave and just leave that since we will have people working in there. And I don't want to haul it back and forth every time I have somebody staying in a pod. So I probably will come back and ask for authorization to buy a similar small microwave to replace the one I'm going to donate. So any questions or thoughts on that inspection? I just really want to thank Dr. Sonata again for getting right on it and finding somebody, and for the coffee shop owners for being so diligent. I mean, it really did take all of us kind of digging around until we found the right person to be able to get these inspections done. Excuse me. All right, then moving to number 8, a discussion of the town's strategic plan. As everyone might remember, the next step in that is going through what we hoped to have accomplished once we passed the strategic plan, kind of going through the bullet points. And Erin and I were contacted by Judith and Julie of Pathways to begin setting up those initial 2024 meetings. And so we have a planning meeting scheduled. I don't have it right in front of me, but the 24th, roughly, for a small group of us to meet with Judith and Julie and kind of look at the checklist and say, well, how are we doing? And then they'll come to the council meeting, in February, probably the first one in February, and I don't like saying February, walk us through like where we are, where we should be, what do we need from them. And that'll include all of the council. And what we might try doing is having like an hour work session prior to our meeting, and then going into our meeting so that if we have to vote on anything, we can do that. But we'd have Judith and Julie's attention during that time. But we can work out the details. And it's a good time for us all to refresh our memory about what we strategically planned to do in 2023 and the start of 2024. Any thoughts, questions? I'll get a little memo out on the dates and everything and remind everyone, but I think our strategic plan is probably on the website. So if you want to refresh your memory on that, or if any of the council wants a paper copy, I'm still locked into this printing contract, so I'm happy to make a paper copy if you want.
And it is found on the website under the town council tab under strategic plan. So if you hover over town council and then go down to strategic plan, it is all listed there.
Great. And I cheated. I did notice on Erin's desk, she has a copy there with little sticky. So I'm assuming she's way ahead of me on this one. Thanks, Erin.
Yeah, no problem. Lots of work to do, but all good things.
Yep, it is. And I appreciate the pathways that stayed, in contact and done their end of it. All right, then, excuse me, moving to number 9. There's a request for a letter of support from Chris Hall. And this is interesting because when I saw the request, I really didn't pay a lot of attention to it because it went from Chris Hall to a bunch of people, including Drew Cooper, who then forwarded it to us. And so it's a grant application for multi-use trail study in San Juan County, and UDOT is asking for, excuse me, letters of support. And so I assume it was forwarded to us with the idea that the town might want to do a letter of support. And so Lou, since this affects probably what you're talking to them about at the end of the month, I'm guessing this is what it is.
Right, and I haven't seen that letter that Drew forwarded. I don't have a copy of that one, but what this is a meeting in order to understand what they need, because they are trying to get a federal grant to do this study. And so the federal grant needs to see what we've done on our active transportation plan already and who our supporters were. So Molly sent all of that to them to support their grant application. But the meeting that we'll have will be kind of informing us more of exactly what they need. And then they were hoping that we would all run out and get these letters of support from various people. But they're going to, kind of clue us in a little better on what they need at that meeting. So if we've already got a request for one, I think I'd hold off until we know a little bit more about the project. But the project is to plan. It's a planning grant from the federal government.
Okay, so I'll just read the last paragraph from Chris Hall. I have attached a draft letter of support on this email that can be used. I would like to propose a few times to set up a call to discuss this. Will everyone reply with the date and time that works best for them to schedule a coordination call? And then he gives 3 times.
Right, so it's narrowed down to the 26th of those 3 choices.
Okay, so do you want to follow up and see if he expects to have a letter of support prior to that? Because it's not clear to me whether he wants the letter of support since he attached the some drafts.
Yeah, I can find out, but I don't. I'll look and see a little closer. But it seemed to me like what we were going to do is discuss the project and then take that draft and spread around the different people, the schools, the businesses, active groups, churches, all of those were ideas of who we would get to support this plan.
Yeah, it's just not clear. I mean, you can, however you want to do it, it's just not clear to me whether he expects a letter of support when you go to that meeting or if you're just going to talk about it. But the fact that he included drafts was kind of, feels like maybe he's expecting more than just a discussion, but
Yeah, just shoot him an email and ask when the letter of support's due by. Like he probably just forgot to mention the due date on them, but
good idea. Yeah,
So, but you got it from Drew.
I got it from Drew. Yes. It went to, like Elaine, Mac, Molly, you. It went to you.
Yeah, I know. That's what we've been replying to. Yeah, so I see Drew on here. Okay. Yeah, so wasn't it? I thought you were on it too.
I don't think I was because I didn't see it until I saw it from Drew.
Okay, so all right.
Yeah, I don't see me on it at all.
Yeah, so it's just this isn't ready for this is a sample of the type of letter that we would get in support, and I don't know when their deadline is for the application either. It might be in here also, but that meeting is supposed to inform us all.
Okay. Then, if there isn't anything else, financial report update on the short-term rental and business licenses. Linda?
In November, I sent out letters to our short-term rental people, letting them know the renewal period was now and it ends end of January. And a renewal is $25 per unit. And so a lot of people sent their fees in. And since then, we've been getting other fees. We have right now, I'm waiting on 6 more people, 2 of which have told me verbally that they'll be sending theirs in. So the short-term rentals are doing great. The business licenses, which are also $25, and people have been sending them in. The deadline for both of them is the end of January. So we have 13 people. So we have about 33 businesses. There are 13 that I'm still waiting on. And 2 or 3 of those have told me verbally that they'll be sending it. So we've been doing great in terms of getting these renewals. Kind of labor intensive doing all this, but people have been great. So I sent everyone out the financial report for their new members. These are the bills that we've done so far in January. If there are some that came in November, I note that. And so these are so everyone knows what's happening. When we do an audit, it's really easy for the auditors to look to see, to make sure that what we say we're spending, we have it written in several places. Plus, the public can look at our minutes and see what kind of things we are paying. So are there any questions? And then can I get a motion to pay these bills, which, by the way, according to our purchase policy, I pay reoccurring bills, or I pay things that the council has already voted on. So even though the checks have already gone out for a lot of these bills, it still lets you know what's happening. So are there any questions?
Linda, in terms of business licenses, I know we have a lot of businesses who right now are applying for the rural San Juan County Rural Development Grant. Do we have copies of business licenses for people to send in?
Yeah, and I believe the deadline for that grant, unless it's been changed, is tomorrow, the 17th.
I believe
So-
it's the 19th, but
Okay. Well, that's
still
good.
Friday.
So what I do is when I get their check, I update our Polaris website. And so everyone that has sent in, except for so there are 3 that I didn't get to today. So yeah, they all have so I email the business license so that it's easy for people to download and send to the county or wherever they need to send it to. So yeah, they're all covered. Plus, if people want to change the name of their business or anything, I can do that.
And then Linda, just so I understand, like if the vacation rentals, like if they don't renew during this month, is the only penalty that they can't operate for the year, or they don't like lose the ability to rent it out in coming years, right? Just this 1 year that they don't renew.
Yeah, we have short-term rentals who are not active at this point. So when we did our short-term rental ordinance, what we did is we capped the number of short-term rentals. And what we did is we said anyone who wants a short-term rental now or in the future can apply, and they're in the system. And so when they turn active, then they get their sales tax license from the state and they're ready to go. So if someone wanted to drop it, then they wouldn't have that. So pretty much, I think this is the 3rd year we've done this, maybe the 4th, probably the 3rd, and it's worked really well.
Awesome. So it's like an active, inactive status. Got it. Okay. Just checking. Thank you. Thank you for pulling all this together too.
Yeah, I think my recollection is that if somebody who has a short-term rental, as long as they keep their short-term rental license and pay, they don't have to do short-term rentals. But if they don't pay, my recollection is after a certain period of time, they lose that short-term rental.
Okay.
It's that trigger of every year, like Linda's saying.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you. Just clarifying. Thanks.
Yeah, that is my, I just worry about any audience that thinks they don't need to pay because the ordinance does show who's ever in there now. It's only in residential areas that you won't be able to get a new permit. So the ones that are in residential areas are solid now, but if they're not kept up, then they get booted. So if you have a short-term rental, that's why I'd like a list of who is on there and know who's in the neighborhood and who's going to be able to put one in now or later. And then people who are using them that way but aren't permitted. I would like that to be public. But you do have to keep the payment up and you have to stay registered or you get off of that list. And then it's only commercial areas that can be added in.
Cool.
The way
Thank you
it was
very much.
written. Yeah, the way it was written.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Right. Then we're at other. Are there any others?
Oh, we need to vote.
We haven't paid the bills. I
Oh,
motion
that's
that
right.
we pay the bills.
Oh, why?
Oh, why not?
Thank you. I guess
I'll second.
all in favor say aye. Aye.
All right.
Who was the first?
Jen.
Okay.
Jen and then Britt.
And great.
Is there anyone opposed? It's unanimous.
So going back to what Lou was asking, actually, Lou, it's a lot easier for me to follow up if someone hasn't paid, and which I do. And it's usually just because someone has forgotten, or maybe someone's out of town right now. But it's never really had to follow up on someone that didn't get theirs in. So it's something that's easier for me to do. It's like I said, for short-term rentals, 2 people have let me know. I picked up one today. It's but anyway.
So going back to the other, are there any others? And then please don't jump off, just stay on for a second. So any others? Okay, so you'll note that I had an executive session. What I'm doing is just pulling that off for right now, in part because I'd really like us to be in person to do it. And given the level of exposure and sickness in the community, Erin and I really didn't feel like meeting virtually was a good idea. There was no, what I have can wait to reschedule when we can all be in person. So with that in mind, we're at the point where we can adjourn.
Well, thank you everybody for rolling with me being sick. I took the family out of Bluff, so naturally we all got sick. So thanks for rolling with it.
Well, that's okay because it's not just you. We brought in AmeriCorps, we've got 3 out of 8 down, and the 4th one's at the clinic. So, it's people are going to get sick. It's winter, so let's be safe, right?
Thank y'all.
All right, a motion to adjourn.
And I have my hand up. I made a mistake on the planning and zoning. Oops, I had a mistake on the planning and zoning next meeting because I was bumped ahead to the hearing. At the meeting after that was the 7th, but they do have a meeting tomorrow at 6 o'clock.
Oh, okay.
Sorry about that.
Wait, do they have a meeting? I thought they didn't have one because of the holiday week.
Okay, well, then maybe that's the case.
Okay.
That was my understanding, was they don't have a meeting in the holiday week.
Okay.
And
All right. So there you go. We've got it canceled for tomorrow. And then, so the 1st will be the hearing, and then the 7th would be the first meeting. So sorry about the confusion.
now that's okay. And that's another one of those things that I want to get on a work session is a discussion. So we're all on the same page on the council and planning and zoning, like what constitutes a holiday and how close does it fall to your meeting date to cancel? I think we really should all get on the same page, but I'll add that to a work session. So thanks for clarifying that, Lou.
Yeah. And then what they do is if there is a canceled meeting or something and they have a land use clearance that comes in, then they schedule another meeting or something so that there's not a couple week delay. They're good about that. They haven't had any land use clearances for quite a while.
Yeah.
So.
Well, it's not just the land use clearance issue. So, it's where we talk about how we move these things forward and not have gaps. I mean, we're going to have a gap now of 3 weeks between today and our next meeting. So, all right. I think we're ready to adjourn.
Okay, and it looks like some people have just popped on, but it's 5. Okay, I'll motion to adjourn.
I will second.
It's 4:54. All in favor, say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? All right, I'm turning off the recorder and everyone have a good night.
Thank
Thanks.
you too. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everybody.
Good night, everybody.